The United States makes the UN work when it wants it to work. And that is exactly the way it should be, because the only question for the United States is what's in our national interest.
My name is John, and the International Criminal Court is now in session. It is August 6th, 2025, and today we are going to once again talk about the situation within Ukraine. So let's start. First of all, we are going to talk about the city of Kherson. Now, usually when I make videos, like nowadays, I don't talk about Kherson. Why? Because nothing ever happens there. But that might change soon. How soon? Hell do I know. But apparently, there is a rumor on the street going around that the Russians are thinking of launching an offensive into the city of Kherson, retaking it from the armed forces of Ukraine, who in turn retook Kherson City in November 2022 after an organized Russian withdrawal ordered by Sergei Surovikin. And as of recent, the reason why the rumors are popping up about Kherson is because apparently there is a report that the Russians are blowing these bridges up on the, let's see here, Kashiva River. And their aim here is to not only disrupt the logistics within Kherson for the armed forces of Ukraine, but to also make it easier for the Russians to infiltrate or capture this island here, which is the very southern part of the city of Kherson. I guess maybe the Russians want to come here for either PR or maybe to legitimize their role over the city of, the whole region of Kherson, because literally the only major part of Kherson that the Russians do not control, well, other than these empty fields here, is the city itself, the provincial capital. And it's obvious to see why the Russians want it back. They annexed it, they declared it as a part of their country, and yeah, they want to retake it. Now, how are they going to do this? Well, either through negotiations, which would be the best case scenario for Russia, or they're going to have to take it by force via an amphibious assault. Or, as a bonus, Ukraine just surrenders, and everything within Ukraine falls without a fight. Sort of like Syria, Afghanistan, you know. But as of right now, I'm not really buying the rumors of a Kherson offensive taking place, because the logistics just don't make sense. Like, how the hell are they going to cross this river? The Dnieper River is no joke. If you've seen the videos of it, it literally isn't. I mean, it looks small from the satellite imagery, but it's massive, like, if you were to see it in person. It's pretty huge. But yeah, I just can't see it happening anytime soon. But if it were to happen, then I would go batshit crazy. It would be insane, because after what the Ukrainians tried to pull at the village of Kranky, which was in 2023 and 24, I don't honestly know why the Russians would want to do the same thing. Unless, of course, they are confident that the armed forces of Ukraine don't have the manpower to counter them within Kherson. Now, how true or wishful thinking that is, if you're the Russians, very much wishful thinking and maybe a pipe dream. But if they were to go on the offensive and retake Kherson, then yeah, it would be the sign that the AFU, as we know it, is cooked, and that it will probably collapse in the foreseeable future. But let's stay in Realityville and keep this area on watch. But it is very more likely that nothing ever happens here, as usual, and other fronts are just going to keep moving as they usually do, while this area stays frozen. Now, there was a report that Ukrainians did try to go in this split area here, but nothing has happened. Nothing happened. Now let's go to the Zaporozhye front. So apparently the Russians continue to advance out of the town of KUPYANSK and have taken majority, if not all, of Plavny from the armed forces of Ukraine. And in addition, they have entered and are contesting right now for the town of Stepnogorsk. Now, at first, it appeared that the Russians were making headway within this small little commie block micro-district here, but so far it appears the AFU has been able to keep the Russians out, but it's obvious that the Russians are going to try again, and maybe next time they'll be successful. But yeah, Then we go eastwards to the area that borders Dnipropetrovsk. Now, the Ukrainians are fighting back in the village of Temrovka, or Timrivka, and have retaken, I guess, the northern part, but the majority of Timrivka is still under Russian control. And then going a little further north, apparently the Russians are advancing towards the village of Komi Shufaka, which is one of the last villages on this part of the Donetsk region before you enter Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. And then speaking of Dnipropetrovsk, after the capture of Malivka, the Russians have also reportedly captured the village of Signive, which I honestly think is probably true, though Syriac has not colored it in yet. He has, however, colored these areas in a gray zone, so there is a strong likelihood that it may have fallen and we just don't have enough proof yet. And, but yeah, after looking at the recent Vostok Group's Telegram post regarding Signive, I wouldn't doubt that it probably has fallen by now, but because there are no flags planted within the village, it's kind of hard to confirm or deny if this capture is real or not. And if you ask me, I think Voskresenka has already fallen by now. It's just Deep State has yet to admit just how bad things are going. And the Russians are also advancing towards the village of Oleksandrohad, but nothing has happened there yet, too. Nothing towards Iskra or Andriivka Kilivstove. And then going in the main Dnipropetrovsk direction, nothing has changed in the area of Dachny and Novopavlovka or Novopavlivka. But the pocket here north of Oleksivka is almost closed. Like, it's almost all the way through. There's just this little area left, and the Ukrainians are kicked out of Donetsk region from the ex-Kharakove front. Or Andriivka front, I don't know. Maybe I can lean saying Kharakove front. And then, this is the big one, the Pokrovsk direction. So, it is confirmed with 100% certainty now that Novoukrenka is under Russian control. And it's also confirmed that the Russians have probably taken the village of Leontovichi. However, Syriac has not colored in Choryanda yet, and he has also not colored in most parts of the gray zone within the city of Pokrovsk. Now, this southwestern part here, this strip, or this long block that goes up to the E50 road, is under the gray zone according to Syriac maps, and I guess a number of other mappers. The central part of Pokrovsk itself, Divjin, or SOFA General Staff, apparently has already colored in parts of central Pokrovsk in favor of the Russians. Though keep in mind that Divjin is a very pro-RU source, and because of that, I would recommend to take their claims with a grain of salt, but never doubt them completely because of, I don't know, just how crazy the whole information cycle has been around Pokrovsk. But again, don't rule it out. It may as well be true, but the problem, though, is we may not know for quite some time due to the information embargo set forth by both the RU MOD and the UA MOD. Syriac has also made a correction in the village of Lisovka. Apparently, the Ukrainians are still in the northern part of the village, so the village is very much still contested, though I think they're going to leave it soon due to the situation in Pokrovsk and Myonograd deteriorating. And speaking of Pokrovsk and Myonograd, trouble is ahead for them in the town of Rodensky. So, it is now apparent, very likely, that the Russians have taken the village of Nika Norivka and have also crossed this railroad junction here. And there's a report that the Russians have taken control over the village of Dorozhiny, but we don't have 100% confirmation of it yet, and that's why Syriac put a part of it in the gray zone here. And there's also a report that the Russians are about to start the fight for Bilitsky, which is the last major town before you enter the city of Dobropila, which is another strong point of the Ukrainian defenses in Donetsk region, also known as Greater Donbas. Well, if you want to count Lugansk Oblast too. But yeah, Rodensky is looking pretty cooked, because just recently, Suketsky, along with the mine here that is outside of Rudensky, has fallen to the Russians just recently. And this Terrakon here is probably under Russian control at this point. It very likely is, and there's also reports on the ground that the Russians have entered Rudensky from the north. Again, we don't have confirmation of these reports due to the information embargo set forth by both sides. But let's be honest, I think it is very likely that Rudensky right now is being fought over, and I don't see the armed forces of Ukraine being able to stop the Russian advance anytime soon because of the fact that, one, they are outnumbered, and two, most of the supply routes going in and out of Rudensky for the Ukrainians has been cut, either physically or by FPV drones. So, yeah, there's no way out of them. There's no way out for them, that is. Sorry. But, yeah, so once they lose Rudensky, Pokrovsk is pretty much done. It's finished. Ukrainians are probably going to run for the exits from both Minograd and Pokrovsk. I just don't see them putting up a fight for these two twin cities like they did with Artyomovsk. I just don't see it when most of the roads are cut. And besides, Ukrainians are also incapable of doing a counteroffensive. They clearly are, at least for now, and maybe they may never do one. But yeah, so as far as I know, Rudensky is contested, and so is probably also Bielitsky. And yeah, but like as soon as the Russians are able to reach this road here, the battle's already over for pretty much Rudensky, Pokrovsk, and Minograd. Because the E-50 is not going to be reliable, because that's also been partially cut too now. Because of the DRG and Russian army infiltration into the city of Pokrovsk. So yeah, there is literally no way they're going to be able to keep this area. It is done. It'll probably be over by late August or sometime September, October. Also, Syriac has confirmed the complete capture of the city of Toretsk, ending the battle after a whole year. Now, to be fair to the Russians, they did complete most of Toretsk by December or January 2025, like December 24, January 2025. And then the Ukrainians went on a little counteroffensive during the Rasputitsa season, which delayed the inevitable for quite some time. But now it appears that Toretsk is over, and it has fallen to Russia. And also in additional news, Chasiv Yar has also fallen to Russia as well. And in the Siversk direction, it appears that the Russians have cleared all these areas outside of Siversk and have also taken some more areas within the forest north of Siversk too. Also outside of Bilogorivka. And with the capture of these forests, and also the capture of Severobryanka, which I do think is the last piece of the puzzle here before they do a frontal assault on the town of Siversk. Yeah, you got a cauldron forming here. Again, another one. And I just don't see a way out of this mess for them here. I just don't. In the Liman direction, most of Kolodiazy is under Russian control. And also, the Russians have started the battle for the village of Shandry Holhove. Or Holove. Shandry Holove. Yeah, there we go. Sorry about my pronunciations there. And once they're able to capture this village, they will then be on the direct road to the city of Liman, which they lost during Ukraine's famous Kharkiv counteroffensive back in September 2022. And then going a little up north, nothing really here as much other than maybe some parts of Karpivka being contested by the Russians again after they were pushed back. And then in the Kharkiv direction, nothing here has changed, at least in these parts. But then you go into Kupyansk. We got some major news, and this is probably going to be the main part of the video, that is, like, the title. So apparently the Russians have started the fourth battle of Kupyansk. The first battle, for those of you who don't remember, started in February, March 2022, when the Russians first invaded Ukraine and easily took the city of Kupyansk without a fight. And then the second battle of Kupyansk happened during the Kharkiv counteroffensive by Ukraine. And as all you know by now, the Russians at first put up a fight for Kupyansk, because this was actually a strategic town or city to keep. But they were not able to hold on to their positions due to being outnumbered by the AFU and were forced to fold back. But now it seems the Russians, after failing to take Kupiansk, back in December 24 and January 2025, they are trying again from the north west this time around, and it seems so far the advance is going well. They have so far captured around maybe 5, if not 10% of the city of Kupiansk by now. They are reportedly already in the center of the city. And based on the map provided by Anatoly Radov, not Suryak that is, he painted a lot of these parts of Kupiansk, including the commie blocks that is, in a gray zone. So they're being fought over at the moment between the Russians and Ukrainians. And if the Russians are at least able to get this part of Kupiansk, then I have no doubt that the battle for the city will already be over. The Ukrainians will just run for the hills. They will. Majority of Moskovka is now under Russian control, so the MOD's claims are correct about the capture of Moskovka. Radkovka is also now more secured. And then going a little further up north, once again, we have nothing to report from Volchansk. Nothing here in the Lipsy direction too. And also slow grinding within the Sumy region. Now, despite the armed forces of Ukraine's best efforts so far, they have not been able to push the Russians further back within Sumy. And the Russians, if anything, have pushed further into Yanukovka, bringing the town or village on the brink of capturing it. But yeah, that's all for the updates. China and India, by the way, were given an ultimatum by President Donald Trump to stop buying Russian oil or they'd be tariffed and sanctioned. But it appears that both countries are calling his bluff, but they're also refusing to do it because they want that cheap Russian oil, by the way. So yeah, Donald Trump doesn't really have a lot of cards to play. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's update, everybody. So tell me in the comment section below what you think of the recent updates on the ground within Ukraine. And also, I hope you found this video entertaining too. And yeah, I'll see you guys all next week, and take care of yourselves. Goodbye, and stay safe. Peace out.